Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, you join us in the midst of our planning because we've got a real dilemma at the moment. We've got to replan our route because of the weather. The rivers are flooded, the lake's got loads of water in it, and it's just a nightmare. But the good news is we've made it here to Woodford now. Woodford is an interesting place, not far from Portumna, if you want to look on your map, near to the shores of Lough Derg. And this is a new fishery that's been set up. It's called Angle Grove. This is one of the first places in Ireland to actually stock with carp.
There's not many carp waters in the country at all. You probably count them on one hand, so this is very, very unusual, really.
We've come here actually mainly for the good tench fishing and the possibility of bagging up, because the problem is in getting from Loch Corrib to Woodford, our keep net now stands at a big fat zero. We've used up all of our miles, so we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of fish to catch. We need to build that keep net back up to take us through what are going to be, I think, difficult times. Come on, let's
get on with it. Stop talking about it.
Bit of hemp, pellets, some nice red maggots, followed by a garnish of sweet corn. So I'm using copolymer line, 5.4 pounds, which might seem a bit heavy, but I need to stand a reasonable chance of landing it.
Well, up to now I've been fishing the pole the same as Matt, and I've had a couple of tench. They probably weigh about £3 between them, so that's going to get us a few more miles. I have noticed there's a few carp moving in the reeds at the side of me. I've changed over to a running line on a normal waggler rod. Let's hope we get the chance of hooking one of them.
Well, we've got off to an absolutely cracking start. I had a fish on the first put in, a small carp, and I've just started to catch tench now as well. Here he comes. Now this is, believe it or not, one of the smaller tench in the lake. They grow to pretty impressive sizes, certainly above £5, so I can't wait to latch into one of those. But that's a very nice fish. And they're great for us because they're building weight very quickly. Barbless hook, easy to take out, lovely jubbly. Now to keep the swim ticking over, I'm just putting out bait after every fish, and that seems to be working very, very well.
All the tench I've caught so far have been on pieces of worm, and that's another 1.5 miles onto our journey.
Well, I'm into the best fish of the day now, or at least the best one I've kept on. It's coming towards the late afternoon and the fishing is really picking up now. I'm hoping we'll get into one or two of the bigger fish. This looks like a small carp actually. It is. Oh, he's really hanging on. Got him. Well, that's a bit bigger than the other carp I had. It's a little common. Very valuable points on the board, this one. There he is. Nice fish. That's 3.5, maybe even £4. It's a very solid, stocky little fish. Very nice.
Well, it's not going particularly great in my swim. I've got 4 tench, so they probably weigh, I should think, 5, maybe £6 between them. But I have had a bit of a messy old day today. I can't get my tackle right. I've now stepped up to heavier tackle, having been snapped off twice on light tackle. And I'm just hoping still to hook one of them bigger carp. Let the fun begin.
Nice tench. There it goes. That'll do. That's valuable points on the board. Very pleased with this. These are actually quite nice sized fish for building a weight because they're not so big that you get massive problems with them, but they weigh, £1.5, £2 each. Good bagging up fish. How goes it, Sir M?
You know when you have one of them days when you should have stayed in bed? I've snapped off 3 times in the lilies.
A nice fish.
I've bust the elastic on my pole and I think I'm really going to go for it now.
I'm definitely giving them a bait that they want, and I'm dropping it into a nice little crescent area. I'm feeding regularly after every fish. It seems to be working very well. It's fairly straightforward fishing, to be perfectly honest. Just ship the pole out, drop the float in over the ground bait, and just hold it there. They're really nice thick fish, these. The elastic usually wins out in the end. 2-pounder, thank you very much.
We could do with a few more of these.
Yes, very nice bar of soap, that one. Well, as the session's gone on, I've started to get into 1 or 2 of the bigger fish. I've had a couple of carp and some nice tench, fish to over 3 pounds. And I'm not quite sure at this stage exactly what we've got in the keep net. It's hard to judge, but I think it's a fair weight. Mick thinks he's got about 12 pounds. I think I've got around about 35, maybe 40. So that's a very good way to fish at this stage. And I don't think we should hang around for much longer. Maybe we will give it another 20 minutes more fishing and then do the weigh-in and get on our way, because this place has definitely served its purpose. It's a shame to leave it while it's fishing so well, but remember, we're in a race against time. We've got 30 days in total to complete the whole journey, so we can't hang around places for too long. And here's another nice tench now. Yeah, that's a nice fish. Probably around about 3 pounds, 2 3/4, 3 pounds. Very nice weight builder. Valuable miles on the clock there. Really nice.
Well, I've just had a nice one here. We could do with a few more of these though, to bump the weight up. Look at that for a tench. Whacker.
Well, I'm playing a fish now that I've had on for about 5 minutes, and I tell you what, it's nowhere near beaten yet. Just watch this puppy fly. The elastics flying out all over the place. It's been right across the lilies over there. It's been into the left. It's really given me the runaround. It feels like a very nice fish. This is the one to finish the session on if I can get it, because it's got to weigh several pounds. The way it's fighting, it's really hanging on. It's absolutely fantastic fight. Just zinging about all over the pool, and I'm trying to control it with the elastic, but man, it's giving me some grief. And it really is exciting playing a big fish on the pole. It's fantastic. It's a bit hairy, and I wouldn't want to do it if I was deliberately going out to catch specimen fish, because I don't think my heart could take it, but it really is brilliant. I'm gradually managing to get down through the sections, but this fish isn't beaten yet. I can only assume it's a carp. Here he comes. And I'll say this, these Irish carp are very, very hard fighting fish. Got him. Well, that's definitely got to be it. We've fished a good few hours here now, and I think we've built up a decent weight of fish. There she is, about 4 or 5 pounds, a nice carp, and that is a great way to finish. Well, there you go, Sir M. I've got the scales on 0 for you, so I'm all ready to see what you've got. Let's get them in. Not being very cooperative, Sir M. Here we go. Well, I've got these on 0, so there you go. That's pretty good. According to that, it's 17 pounds 5 ounces.
Brilliant.
Well done, sir. You're going to slip those ones back now?
Yep. Good. Well, that's going to get us well on our way, but I've got a feeling Matt's done a little bit better than me. Oh my goodness. Right.
We wait in a couple of batches.
Yeah.
Like bars of soap, tench, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, there's 28 pounds in that lot alone.
We've got a few more to come yet, mate. We've got 28 for the first batch, Sir M. That's £30.5.
Yeah.
58.5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Plus these. A lot of small carp here, Sir M, but they do build up the weight.
Yeah. 18, 14.
77 and a quarter, roughly.
Yeah.
Plus your 17.
77, 87. We're not going to get it right to an ounce. I reckon that's about 94 pounds, give or take an ounce.
Well, Mick, we started today with £0
Yeah.
in the keep net and we finished a day later with plus 94. I think you could say that was a successful visit.
That's an amazing catch, mate.
Put it there, son. Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, we're just leaving Angle Grove now, and we're on the way over to a river that someone's told us about, which is called the Capper River, and it flows into Loch Derg up at the north end near to Portumna, which is on our route. Now, before anybody thinks that we've got so many fish it's pointless calling in anywhere else, we might as well get straight across to Dublin. Let me tell you, we've got several problem areas, notably some of the lakes like Derravara, Sheelan and Rama, which are notoriously fickle. But we're just going to check out this Capper River now. Looks quite interesting. Apparently it's got all sorts of species in it and it's en route, so it makes a lot of sense to go there, I think, Mick.
Yeah.
Maybe do a bit of fishing this evening, camp over, move on tomorrow somewhere.
If we don't lose it down this ditch.
We're just coming out onto the loch now. We've got a big rolling wave, but we're going to give it a shot anyway.
Well, I've actually caught my first fish.
Hey!
Look at those spots.
Well, that's useful, Mick. Woo!
See that go? Dapping with live mayfly.
Look, there's a fish, Mick. What a beautiful way to end the day. We're on the way to Woodford. It's a very nice fish.
And that's another mile onto our journey.
Well, we've used 8 miles to get here, which means we've got basically 86 miles left in the keep net. And this is the Capper River. It's a small tributary that flows into the Shannon system through Loch Derg. And I've never fished here before. It looks wonderful, but I've no idea what to expect. And I'm really looking forward to fishing it. Well, I've decided to trot this section of the river.
As for me, I'm off to do a bit of pike fishing. Now, the method I'm going to use for these pike is actually fly fishing.
I'm going to give it a few hours and just trot some maggots, maybe put in a bit of ground bait.
Instead of putting the spinner on the wire trace, I'll put on a pike fly.
And I'll just try it and see what turns up.
And this should be the perfect method for this shallow, streamy water. I've covered all the water on this stretch that's easy to get down to, but I haven't seen a sign of anything. Certainly haven't seen any pike. I've seen a couple of small fish coming up for the mayfly, but I suspect they were quite small trout. So there doesn't seem to be much life in this stretch of the river at all. I'm pretty happy with the way I'm fishing. I just don't feel good about this. We might be wasting time. I think we should move on.
I'm coming to the same conclusion as Mick. I fished here for about an hour and a half with absolutely no joy. It's such a beautiful stretch of river. I can't believe there's no fish in it. I'm not going to give up on it yet. I'm going to have a wander upstream. Well, I'm gutted because I thought I was going to be in for a bit of mayfly fishing here, and it is the time of year to catch trout. Well, I've seen one fish rise on this little river, and I know it's not a very big trout. It's only a small one, but I'll admit that I've become obsessed with trying to catch it. It probably only weighs about half a pound. but it steadfastly refused every fly I've put to it, and I know that I've put the fly over it well on several occasions. When you're fishing quite a fast flowing bit of water like this, you get this thing called drag. And that's basically caused by the current pulling a bow into your line and dragging the fly around at an unnatural speed. And the fish know the difference. So what we're trying to achieve with the fly is a dead drift. And to do that, I've been putting little upstream mends in the fly line as soon as the fly lands, just to give me several seconds before the current straightens out that slack and basically drags the fly away faster than the natural insects that are landing on the water. So I know that I've got several good presentations to this little fish, but I haven't been able to fool him. I've tried spent patterns, green drakes, grey wolves, humpies. Whatever he's taking, he ain't taking my fly, and yet I've seen him take at least one spent. So he's a clever little fish, all right. There's the mend, and it just gives me just an extra few seconds of the fly going at the speed of the current, which is exactly how the fish will expect to take it. And you know, the thing with brown trout is that if you present the fly unnaturally by dragging it through, you'll very, very rarely get a fish rise to take it. It has to come through on a dead drift.
Do you want to give it another hour or do you want to move on?
I think we might as well move on unless we see something when we walk back down.
Yeah.
This is Portumna. That's the main town bridge behind us. The river here is very wide, it's deep, it's fairly steady. It's actually carrying a little bit of extra water at the moment, and it seems as good a place as any to spend the last couple of hours of light just trying to pick up the odd bonus fish to top up that net. Well, here we are. We're still on the town stretch at Portumna. I fished it for a couple of hours on the jetty last night. I didn't get anything, but you know, this is one of those stretches with a very famous history for producing a lot of fish, and I decided that I'd like to have another go, and Mick feels the same way too. So we've decided to move downstream, and I'm fishing on the feeder. Mick's going to try for pike. Now, many years ago, Portumna was famous for its huge bream catches. Now, for whatever reason, those fish just aren't showing up anymore, but what are here are quality roach bream hybrids. So I'm going to be fishing for those in this deep water on the feeder. Mick's going to put a couple of pike rods out, and with any luck, even if I don't catch, he might pick up a couple of big extra bonus fish.
Now at the moment I've only got one rod fishing, I've only got one bait. I did manage to scrounge a roach off a guy up by the bridge, and what I'm actually doing is fishing the swim down below where Matt's fishing. He's putting plenty of ground bait and maggots in. Hopefully some of it will be washed through my swim, start drawing the roach into this area, and maybe a pike might follow. At this stage, not a lot's happening, but we've got a bit of time yet. And what I really need to do is get another bait for this second rod.
That's not what I wanted. Well, there's my first fish. Every fisherman's nightmare. A little eel. And basically these things just tie themselves up in knots. Desperately difficult to unhook. And you've heard of the phrase slippery as an eel. Well, look at this. This is the sort of pickle that Mick normally gets himself into, as this eel knots itself around my hand like some kind of python. These fish spend large parts of their lives in fresh water before heading out to the salt water to actually breed. Now, no one knows for sure where eels go. It's thought that they go to breed in the Sargasso Sea, and that's all freshwater eels in the world going on this incredible journey. And years ago, people used to kill them in large numbers, but thankfully now, more of them are put back. And in fact, I'm just going to put this fish back in. There he goes. And in fact, one of the interesting things about eels is that at the moment we've got a European-wide eel shortage. And it's something to do with a parasite. I'm not really up on the science of it, but when I look back to the years when I was a kid, the rivers were full of small eels like that bootlace eel there, and now you hardly ever catch one. And apparently it's all to do with this parasite. And yet the crazy thing is that councils and government continue to allow people to net the elvers, the young eels, in huge quantities. Anyway, I'm rambling on and on my soapbox, but all started off by catching a small eel. Oh, it's not there, mate. Thought I'd got him. It's not going very well, really. I'm actually struggling, believe it or not, to see the bites. Because of the amount of stretch in the mono line, I think I'm getting bites that I'm not even seeing. So I'm going to make a tactical switch. I'm going to put on a braided main line instead of this mono. And I'm also going to switch to a softer quiver tip and see if I can nail some of these suckers, because they're driving me nuts. I'm just hoping that a couple of tweaks like this will switch the fish on. Well, there's the braided line. It's a different colour to the mono. As you can see, the feeder runs on a large loop. If it comes up against the backstop there, it will help to hook the fish if the fish runs off with the bait. Then below that there's another loop and then a smaller loop. Basically, that system helps to prevent tangles. It's very easy to set up, but it's very, very effective too. But I'm also going to go down on hook size. I've been using a 16. I'm going to go down to a size 18 spade end hook. Little setup, smaller hook, braided line, feeder. They've got no chance, have they? Well, at long last, I'm into a fish on the braid. It's quite interesting, actually. I went through a spate where I got cut off on the zebra mussel, so I've taken to propping the rod up quite high to try and get the line at quite a sharp angle, and it's worked. I just had a couple of little knocks and then a pull over and I'm into a fish. It's interesting that Mick and I were debating what fish were responsible for the little bites that I was getting, and Mick was convinced they were very small fish. Ah, right. He also suggested they might be eels. And he's absolutely right. And now I've got to deal with it. Come here, baby. That's the last thing you want to do, is hook one of the... Ah, he's got me. Got the hook out, though. There he is. Go on, give me my eel back.
I predicted this is what it was. He's got a swim full of little eels, and he tried to convince me that they were hybrids and roach. I've never heard such nonsense in all my life.
So, what are you going to give me for that, then?
12 ounces.
That's a pound, that is.
All right, I'll give you a pound. Let's put him back, Matt. It's a shame to...
Yeah, go on.
Eels are getting rarer, you know. We ought to put it straight back. Go on, Mr. Eel. Off you go. Well, it provided me with a bit of entertainment. I hope it did you as well.
Well, here we are. We're still at Portumna on the River Shannon, and you know, before this leg of the journey started, we got 94 pounds of fish in our keep net, giving us 94 miles to travel. Well, we've used up 14 so far on this leg, so we're down to 80 pounds. That may sound pretty good, but we know there are some very, very difficult legs ahead of us. And talking of tough times, we're really struggling to catch fish here, aren't we, Mick?
We are. I mean, we stopped here because this is a renowned venue for good roach, bream, hybrids and for pike, especially at this time of year. But have you noticed one thing, man? Can you see one other angler within sight?
No.
And that's telling me the fishing's not very good at the moment. Where there's good fishing, you get plenty of anglers, and I think we're probably on a very good venue, which depends a lot on migratory fish, but we're here at the wrong time, I'd say.
Well, you could be right. I mean, it begs the question what we're going to do about it.
Well, you've got to remember it's not just catching a weight of fish. We've got to cover the miles within a certain time. Maybe give it another hour, maybe two, but then think about moving on.
OK, well, that seems like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
We desperately need to add fish into the keep net, because as we move on through the journey, particularly as we cross the Irish Sea, we come to the Welsh leg, and that's going to be hard. And you know, we're going to need a fat reserve of fish in the net to carry us through that difficult period, so we need to take fish with us across the ocean, and well, at the moment, it's not looking too good. start. There he is. Classic roach bream hybrid. The hook's fallen out, which is very valuable points actually, so I'm pleased about that. Let's just hope there's a few more to follow. Definitely been getting bites that I can't see, you know, because the maggot will come back and it's chewed. Bring the quiver tips down, Saram.
Okay.
I'm just connecting a new hook length here.
Well, we haven't had a very good day today. We haven't put much in the coop net, but we're not despondent. We've got a bit more time. What we're doing now is moving back to the platform where we started. We feel we've got a better chance here, and we're just going to carry on using the same tactics. I'll be carrying on doing a bit of pike fishing, and Matt will be fishing his feeder, hopefully to pick up some hybrids and maybe a roach or two. Hi, Matt.
All right, mate.
Are you casting already?
Yeah, I've had a couple of little nudges that might be line bites. I'm not 100%, but I think what we've got to remember about this is that it's not just about pounds in weight and mileage, it's also about time. We've got 30 days to do this challenge, and I don't know about you, Mick, but I think we've probably wasted a day today. You can get locked into the challenge or something and into the fishing, and really, you know, we probably should have moved on earlier, but we have wasted a day, really.
How are you feeling?
Lower than a rattlesnake's belly in a wagon rut, actually. I want to nail one of these suckers. It's really winding me up now.
And a man of your calibre, I mean, you should be emptying the place.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so, the Duke. Did I detect an element of sarcasm there, Sir Mike?
It's a funny thing you should say that.
Yes. Ha! At last, the tip's just eased round. Now, oh, look at that. This is a typical fight from a hybrid now. I'm probably going to look a right Charlie and it'll be an eel, but the fish fight really hard. You get lots of jags and knocks on the rod tip. They're really aggressive. Not at all like bream, which tend to be slow and ponderous. A hybrid's a real scrapper. It's basically a cross between a bream and a roach, and it seems to have the fighting characteristics of both, but much stronger, really. This fish is really going for it. Oh, look at that, that's superb. And on the braided line, you feel absolutely everything. Here's the fish now. It is a hybrid. I'm glad it's not an eel, and it's a nice one too. Oh, what a relief. Do you know, I've been up since about 4 o'clock this morning chasing fish, and now it's early evening. And I know it looks like sometimes we just wind them in on the telly. Well, I'll tell you, it's been hard today. Let's just take the hook out a minute and have a look at him. You can see with the hybrid, it's very bream-like, but it's a little bit silvery and thinner than a bream. And basically, this is a fish that bream that have hybridised, crossbred with roach to produce this fish, which, as I said before, is a very hard fighting fish, actually. They're fine sport fish hybrids, and put him in the net. Oh, there you go. Horace hybrid. Oh, blimey, that was a great bite. Oh, it's broken it. Yes. Well, I was right. The fish have definitely moved in over that ground bait I put out earlier, because I'm into another one now. Maybe it's because it's sort of mid-evening that the fish have just come on. It's interesting that it's been very quiet and I put that ground bait in. Now all of a sudden I'm getting line bites and proper bites. Looks like another hybrid. Or is it? It looks very roachy, actually, I've got to say, that one. In fact, it is. It may have a small element of bream in it, that's possible, of course, but to all intents and purposes, that's a roach. It's a very different looking fish. It's got red fins, bright silver scales, may have a little touch of hybrid in it, but I don't think so. I think it's probably a true roach, or as near as it can be. But to all intents and purposes, it's a roach, and a very nice one too.
Well, it is tough at the moment, but I'm not despondent.
Right, let's give him another feeder load. I'm running a bit low on bait now. I'll have to top up tomorrow, I think, when we're on the road. Right, here we go. I'm lining up with a telegraph pole on the far side. Well, they say it never rains, but it pours, and it is raining again. There's a surprise in Ireland, but I'm into another fish now. They've definitely moved in over that ground bait. I've had several hybrids in the last 45 minutes, I guess, and they're all very nice fish actually, well worth catching. Typical hybrid fight, just jagging away at the tip. Very nice. And I think Sir Michael will be very pleased with me. Oh no! No, 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 no. It's Eduardo eel. I can see Mick laughing, he's loving it. He's loving it. Oh, you nasty thing, you. I'm just going to try and unhook him.
Oh dear.
Oh no, don't twist, don't twist, don't. Ay, 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 he's now me again. They always bite me. This is one of the worst jobs in fishing, doing this. Oh, look at that. He's twisting himself up into a knot, around the line. Now he's lassoed himself. Oh, it's going all over my jacket now. It's not funny. Oh, I've got to get in the van with all this all over me. No, get off my jacket.
It was worth coming just to see Matt in this real mess.
No. Sir Michael's revenge. Come on, mate, come on.
I've got an idea, mate.
No, I've got it out.
Oh, okay.
It's come out.
Sorry, I was going to climb on its back and hold it down, but you sorted it out, don't worry.
Look at the state I'm in. That's £half a pound.
Okay,
Graham,
I'll
right?
take your word for it. I'm not weighing it.
Come on then, Eduardo eel. Well, the rain's setting in now and the light's fading. I think it's as good a time as any just to see what we've got in the net and head for the hills, or at least head for the camper van. Well, Sir Em, I better bring these in. You've given me such a hard time today.
Yeah.
I thought perhaps we could weigh yours in first.
Okay, there's no need to zero the scales because it won't read any different.
No, exactly.
No, I didn't get a pike, unfortunately.
Well, I've managed to winkle a few out and haul you out the car. Read 'em and weep the Duke.
Right, well, I've zeroed the scales.
Okay, well, here we go.
I'll hold the bag.
They're quite nice hybrids, actually, mate. Yeah, I've had a few, you see, the Duke, as well as some eels. The Shannon's still got some good fish in it. They're good size. Another hybrid here. Nice big roach there. And I think
Is that the lot?
that's it, Mick, yeah.
Right, what do you think you've got?
I think I've got, well, including the eels, I think I've got about £10.
Well, you've actually got 10 3/4 without the eels.
Ah,
£2 for the eels, I would say.
yeah.
12 3/4. We'll round that down to 12 and a half.
12 and a half, which means we were on 80 miles, so we now got 92 and a half miles back in our keep net. And we're a few miles further on, so although it was a bit of a scratcher of a day, the Duke, it's gone well on the mileage front. My only concern is time. We've burnt a day doing this, and I think we've got to get our finger out. But anyway,
No, you put up a good performance, mate. And can I just remind you, you're a master of handling eels.
put the slime there. Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, you join us as we reside in our respective sweaty pits, studying the map and trying to work out the next part of the route. And we've had quite an interesting debate about this. I've just been pointing out to Sir M that in fact we are now down here at Portumna. We've got to get over to Dublin, and I've worked it out. It's about 130 miles to go. Now, we've currently got, I think it's something like 92.5 pounds of fish in our keep net, which will get us 92.5 miles, so it's not even enough to get us to Dublin. And I keep rambling on about the fact that we need some fish in our keep net when we get the other side, and I think we do. So we've got a lot of work to do yet, son.
What I can't get is, why don't we go straight from Petumnah to Dublin? There's got to be one or two places we can stop.
Well, I'm glad you raised that, Sir Em. And I think the viewers will go along with me here. You can't come to Ireland, can you, and not fish Corrib and the Shannon and Derg. And may I also point out to you, Sir Em, that Loch Sheelan and Loch Rammer, two of the waters that you wanted to fish. So
Sounds like a bit of self-indulgence, this does.
no, it isn't. If you actually look at the map, to be fair, mate, Dublin's up here, Petumnah's down here. You've got to do a bit of that. And it makes getting into Dublin easier. So it is what it is, mate, really. Anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to go up to Banagher, which is on the Shannon. We're going to go to the tackle shop because we need a bit of advice about where we can fish. I'm probably going to try and find some float fishing for roach and hybrids and that sort of thing on a stick float or a waggler. And Sir Em will be trying to catch the first pike of the series, so good luck to him on that one. And without further ado, Sir Em, I think we should finish our toast and drink our tea and get on the road.
Yep.
This is Portumna. That's the main town bridge behind us.
We haven't put much in the keep net, but we're not despondent.
I think we've probably wasted a day today. We've moved downstream. That's the start. Classic roach bream hybrid. Every fisherman's nightmare. Ah, he's got me.
Swim full of little eels. I've never heard such nonsense in all my life.
It's Eduardo eel. That's £1/2 pound.
You're a master of handling eels.
Put the slime there. Well, here we are. We're on our way to the tackle shop now, and whenever you find a good tackle shop in Ireland, it's worth its weight in gold. We're hoping this one will be. We need some bait. We also need information because our knowledge of this area is a little bit sketchy, so we're hoping the guy that runs the shop can tell us a little bit about the fishing here.
You can even buy a bag of frogs. I was going to buy some for the wife.
In Ireland, thinking of you.
He ain't right.
I think a bit of the old ordinary brown crumb will come in handy, Nick. Is the world swimming?
This could be useful. Well, we're going pike fishing a bit later, and we're probably going to be doing a bit of trolling, and that's a great trolling lure.
I've got all the ground bait anyway, Mick. I've got...
Is that enough?
Yeah.
Like it flying. I found the perfect float for me. Look at this. I am a darling.
Will you let me get on with the shopping and go away? Well, I've got a great collection of flies here, all different ones for different types of fishing that we may find ahead. A couple of salmon flies, some dry flies and a couple of wet flies. But you know, the great thing about a tackle shop like this is it looks seemingly innocent from the outside, but when you actually get inside, there's all kinds of things hidden away, and it's the kind of stuff, you find little gems that you wouldn't normally get in English tackle shops. I love coming to places like this.
Well, these will be useful for when we go pike fishing.
Very good boat. Right, the Duke, let's go.
Well, it was an interesting shop, that, wasn't it?
The guy who runs it is really knowledgeable about the fishing in the area.
Yeah. I'll tell you what was interesting. He knew every swim.
Well, he's onto some good stuff, isn't he? Because we've got a piece of the Shannon to try.
Yep.
An interesting new technique. And then later on, we can try some mayfly fishing as well.
Yeah.
So, a very good call, that's for him, I think.
Certainly. And we're well stocked up now, so let's get on with some fishing, eh? It's been hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah, very difficult to find. It's the middle of nowhere. Very deep there, it's 20 or 30 foot. Well, here we are. This is the Shebeen stretch of the River Shannon. It's a very wide, deep piece of river here. It's around about 30 feet deep, and the reason I know that is I'm using a big sliding float, so I've had to plumb the depth pretty precisely. Actually, this is a really interesting method, and I'm looking forward to seeing whether I can actually catch some fish using it. It's very unusual, highly specialised technique, but absolutely perfect for this kind of water here, where you've got this quite powerful flow, enormous depth, and you'd think that ordinarily float fishing would be impossible here, but it's not. I think the only question as to whether myself and Mick catch is whether we're actually on fish. And on such a great big stretch of river, that's always difficult to figure out, but we're going to give it our best shot anyway.
Well, the Shebeen fishery is really noted for pike, But the trouble is, it's a huge piece of water. It's a massive river, 30 feet deep. The pike could be anywhere. I just don't know whether this is a good swim or not. What I'm hoping is that Matt will draw some roach into his swim, and that, in turn, should draw some pike. I've got a couple of dead baits out, one for me and one for Matt. I'm throwing a lure around. It's a matter of doing the best we can and seeing what happens.
Well, look at this. Here's my first fish. I'm not even going to bother putting that one in the keep net because that's not miles, that's not even half miles, that's a few metres, that one. But anyway, it just goes to show how sensitive a really heavy float rig can be. Now, what I'm fishing with today is a really interesting and quite exciting method, to be honest. It's the first time I've tried this. It's an alternative to fishing the feeder, and it enables you to fish with a float, just creeping the bait along, giving it a really nice presentation. Now, the key to it is this thing here. It's what's called a sliding float. It runs up and down on the line. It's a very big, bulky float. The only modification I've made to it is on the tip here, I've coloured this in 2 bands of black because I'm fishing against shiny water. That's a bulk Olivet weighing 12 grams, and then we've got a string of shot above it. Just below the Olivet, there's a swivel to stop line twist, and then 2 dropper shots on the hook link with a size 18 hook. And the idea is that the weight will trundle along just above the bottom and the hook will actually be dragging along on the bottom. Now, you might be wondering, if the float's running on the line, how does it come to depth? Well, the answer is simple. This is what's called a sliding stop knot. When I cast out, the leads plummet down through the water, the float runs up the line, and it stops when it hits this stop knot. And by experimentation at the start of the session, I've established that I'm fishing in round about to 28, 29 feet of water. So I've got the stop knot set at that depth, and it's very interesting to see actually what happens. I'm going to cast it out with an underarm lob and then just feather the line to straighten out the tackle. There's the float. I'm paying out line with my hand. Now watch it sit down. Bang, there it is. And now you can see just the tip of the float above the water. And whether I catch anything or not, I can tell you this is a fantastic method. It's a little bit technical, but I really, really hope it works. If it doesn't, it's nothing to do with the technique. It's just that I haven't found the fish.
Well, we've moved upstream. We couldn't get on with that last swim. Well, basically, we couldn't catch any fish. Anyway, let's have a look at the statistics now. Well, we've travelled 117 miles. We've still got 83.5 pounds in the keep net. So that makes our tally, our grand total, a catch of 200.5 pounds for the trip so far.
Well, I've switched over to the feeder because I can't get a bite on the float. Just had my first bite on about the 4th cast, and I've got a horrible feeling that this is a little eel. Oh dear, I suppose it's a ½ pound we should be grateful for. Now, there is an old Indian rope trick with eels, and that is that if you lie them on their back, they're supposed to go calm. No one really knows why this happens, but it's something to do with the eel's nervous system and the electromagnetic impulses from the earth. It's definitely had a calming effect on him. Look, at least it's enabled me to unhook him without too much of a mess. Anguilla anguilla, the common eel.
Today's been absolutely disastrous. I've had a few bits and pieces fishing down the margin trying to get some bait, and I don't think we've put together £1.5 pound between us today. We really are going backwards, I think.
Nick's been talking about the problems we've had today, and he's absolutely right. It's been a major disappointment. When we planned this rod race, the Shannon system was very much the linchpin of the whole thing, because this was the area that we were more or less guaranteed to catch fish. Well, at the moment, I think the wheels come off our game plan.
Oh, there's a bite. Just missed one. No.
Yes, eel on my feeder. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
We've really got to get our act together now.
We've got to find some fish. We're living off our fat reserves at the moment, and I was hoping we wouldn't have to do that. Well, we're right on the last trickle of light now, and because we're so desperate to catch fish, we've stayed on. I've got a fish here, it's not an eel, thank the Lord. It looks like a small bream, and it is. It's actually a Shannon bream. Not like one of the golden bream of yesteryear, but it's a Shannon bream. It's about a pound in weight, and it's worth that weight in gold. Well, that means with a few bits we've scraped together and a couple of eels, we've had 2.5 pounds of fish today, folks. Yippee! But it's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Just about. We've travelled 11 miles from the Shannon to here. This is the River Brosna, and it's not too far from the town of Burr. We've got 75 pounds of fish in our keep net, which is dwindling quite rapidly with the poor results we've had of late. And well, this is a beautiful little game river, the Little Brosna. It's a wild trout fishery. It also contains some salmon. We badly need some fish. We know we're not going to catch a lot here, but this is now about topping up along the way, Mick, I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to burst your bubble, Matt, but I agree with you. It is a beautiful location. The habitat for wild brown trout is perfect, but earlier on I did see a car pull up and the four lads got out, worm gear, spinning gear. I'm not saying they haven't got a right to fish, they have, but that makes fly fishing very, very difficult, following on after that.
Yeah, you could be right, but we've got no choice. We're badly in need of fish. The Shannon is very, very out of sorts, and although this river's running high with some colour in it, if we could just pick up a few trout, a few valuable pounds, it would all help. Oh, it's a beautiful piece of water.
There's a few small fish rising over there, but they're very small.
Very small, yeah. I mean, wild trout generally don't get too big, but apparently this river does get some big trout that come out the lochs.
I mean, if we stay on till the evening, there may be a bit of a rise.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, but I take on board what you're saying about other people fishing. Of course, it doesn't really help. But we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Well, there's not much of a back cast here, so a roll cast is very, very useful. It's basically a cast used by the fly fisherman to put the fly back in the water without having to bring it behind you where the trees or the undergrowth that's growing quite close to the river will catch up with it. And it's actually a great cast for little rivers like this one. You know, if you want to, you can cover the whole width of the river without any fear of snagging up behind you. I'm putting an upstream mend into the line just after it touches here, just to try and slow it down, because the river's carrying extra water and it's moving quite quickly. And it's noticeable if I put that mend in upstream, it really slows the fly down and gives it time to get to its proper depth, really. So if you want to slow your fly down and its movement through the water, then use an upstream mend, whether you're dry fly or wet fly fishing. And then with the roll cast, use that on situations like this where you're trying to cast near to dense cover. And so it's trouble-free, effortless fishing, really, once you get into the swing of it. Well, predictably, I suppose, and Mick will say I told you so, we've worked our way down this beautiful stretch of river with absolutely no result whatsoever. One little tiny pluck on the fly. I can tell it was a small fish. And we're just trying to get our heads around what's going on here. We've found some places the commercial fisheries have been full of fish, but you'd expect that. They're stocked and policed. But the wild fisheries and the rivers have been very, very poor. Now, we understand that it's been an exceptionally wet spring here in Ireland, and that has made the rivers fish less well than they should. But inevitably, we can't help but comment on some of the things that have been said to us. The fact that the fishing is in decline, both the coarse and game fishing. There's no question either that there's an awful lot of unhelpful non-sport fishing going on. We were just walking back up the bank there. We met a couple of local guys, and they were telling us that last week There were some lads caught on here with 100 small trout in a bag, little tiny immature fish. And that's going on all over the country, unfortunately. There's been a huge influx of people from other countries who've got a different culture. There's quite a long tradition of poaching here in Ireland anyway, and I'll be brutally honest with you at this stage, I think it's all getting a little bit out of control, and I think Mick does too. But all of it adds up to a pretty gloomy scenario, and it is very frustrating when you construct a route based on information given to you on the internet and in literature, and then when you find that the fish stocks have really collapsed, it's very, very frustrating. But I know there's still some good fishing to be had in Ireland. We've got to put that behind us, we've got to get on the road, and basically, I think we've got to find somewhere with some fish in it.
We haven't had any pike yet, have we?
No pike. Well, the conditions have been all wrong, haven't they?
Oh, look, there's a camper van just like ours in front.
Oh, there is, yeah. On the long and winding road.
Matt, can you go in this boat? Step over.
Well, things are now going from bad to worse because it's taken 59 miles to get to this place from where we were on the Shannon. This is Loch Sheelan. It's a place I've always wanted to fish, but not really in these circumstances because our keep net is now depleted to 16 pounds of fish. Now from here to Dublin it's about 60 miles, which means somehow in the next few days we've got to catch 44 pounds of fish here on Sheelan and maybe on Loch Rama tomorrow. And quite honestly, that ain't going to be easy. Sheelan's a big lake. She's over 4,000 acres in size. Famous, of course, in the past for its brown trout fishing. Still contains some very big brown trout, but the numbers are way down on what they were in previous years. The fishing at the moment apparently is slow for the trout, so we've decided to gamble for the next couple of days at least on fishing for pike here at Sheelan and then on Loch Rama. And quite honestly, it's only with pike, Mick, I can see us hauling our way out of the cart. So the bottom line is this, we've got to catch them. There's plenty of rocks here, Sir M.
Troll inside in this bay here at the moment.
Troll into here?
Yeah, we'll turn around and
Okay.
have a go
Are
from
we
the
going
island.
to troll the edge of it, Bill, do you
Yes,
think?
we'll troll from the edge.
Yeah.
We're back from the island here.
Okay.
I think we might be better with shorter casts close to the reeds, maybe, I think. Did they say there's a lot of bream in here?
There are some, yeah. I've seen them
Yeah.
porpoising out the middle of the lake.
Yeah. I presume the roach can come up from the Shannon as well.
When I look at the journey ahead, what we've got in the rest of Ireland, some large, difficult waters to fish, the loch systems, then the run into Dublin, then we get the other side and we're going through Wales. It's not exactly fish-rich country, and, well, at the moment, I think the wheels come off our game plan.
I mean, mate, oh, I've lost it.
Well, I've just had the first hit of the day, for me anyway, and it was on and then it was off, and the way it flapped about, I think it was a trout. Quite a nice trout, actually. I would like to have caught it.
Yeah, that's good trolling speed. Very good. Habitat we've just been over, there's all cabbages under the water. Absolutely perfect. Well, we've worked our way up to the top end of Loch Sheelan, where the river actually flows out of the loch. And having made our way through a sort of labyrinth of channels through the reeds, we've eventually come onto the river main channel itself, and it's really beautiful up here. Great pike habitat, wonderful cabbages in the water, lily pads. There's dark, mysterious water, but of course, one of the problems associated with Irish lochs is because of the protection of the trout. Pike have been persecuted over the years by the Fisheries Board and people fishing the lake, and we're really not sure what the pike stocks are. That's the thing that we're fighting against. But one thing's for sure, you will not find better pike habitat than this. It's marvellous, and quite honestly, we should be getting the rod dragged in. Oh, he's let go. Oh. I've just lost a pike of about 5 or 6 pounds. And normally I wouldn't be too worried, but I'm gutted. You see him, Mick?
No, I never saw him.
Yeah, I had him on for a sec. I didn't see him following this time. He just came in and took it.
Even a 5-pounder would have
Oh, anything.
been, a 3-pounder would have been. We haven't caught 3-pounder fish in the last 2 days. And that's,
I'd say it's about £5.
I think we're on to a bit of fishing now. We've had a bit of interest on the fly and on the lure.
Bigger pike, Mick, that one. Maybe £7 or £8.
Yeah?
There he is. Got him. No, he's not that big.
Yeah, you've got him right.
I've got him. Oh, he's going right into those reeds, Mick.
All right. Coming out to open water.
Yeah, it's great.
Get a good chance at seeing you now.
Yeah, he's not a big fish, Bill, but he's a welcome one. I've never been so pleased to catch a small pike in my life. I've worked my nuts off here, casting like a maniac into the wind, but we've come close. We've lost 2 fish today, and it's heartbreaking. What are you going to give me for that, Brownie?
£3?
We've got a £3 pike, and I think that gives us now something like 19 pounds of fish in our keep net. We've got 60 miles to go. We're 41 pounds short, but we're still in the fight.
Well done, mate. Good job.
Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race. Well, it's not a big pike, Mick, but it's valuable points on the board.
Yeah, it's about £3.
About £3.
Yeah.
Well, you join us here on Loch Sheelan in the middle of a really squally shower. The conditions are not that great. We're fishing for pike, and the score at the moment is this. Up until now, we've got 19 pounds of fish in our keep net. We've got 60 miles to go to Dublin. That was 41 miles. This is another £3-pounder, so we've now got 22 pounds in the keep net. 38 miles more needed on quite difficult waters, but this is a fish that gives us hope that we might even make it. This is the River Shannon. It's a very deep piece of river here.
I just don't know whether this is a good swim or not.
That's not miles, that's not even half miles. Oh dear. I suppose it's a £1/2 we should be grateful for.
Oh, there's the bite. Just missed one.
Yes, eel on my feeder. Looks like a small bream, about £1 in weight, on the long and winding road.
Come in, mate. Oh, I've lost it.
There he is, got him. Got a £3 pike, but we're still in the fight. Well, here we are at the top end of Loch Sheelan, and Billy, our boatman's been brilliant today. He's been rowing like crazy. Now he's even cooking us lunch, so it's a really, really welcome stop. We've been casting hard all morning. I've managed a couple of pike, one of which you saw earlier on, and it's boosted the weight in our keep net to 22 pounds. But get this, we've got 60 miles at least to get to Dublin, so we're not out of the woods yet by any means. Now, we've come here to Loch Sheelan against a backdrop that the pike are managed on this fishery. It's a wild trout fishery, the pike numbers are controlled, and you might be thinking, well, these guys are crazy. Why go pike fishing on a place like that? Well, the answer is, as far as we're concerned, the roach fishing has been poor so far, and one £3 pike is worth quite a few roach. So we know the numbers are reduced here, but we figure even if we can catch a few small pike, it's going to get us well on the road. So that's the gamble. We're going for bigger fish. Whether it works or not, well, it's really on a knife edge at the moment, but we're enjoying it. We're going to pull every stop out to get to where we need to go. And Mick, how do you sum up our chances?
Well, we wanted a challenge. We've got one now.
Cheers, Mick.
Cheers, Bill. Oh, that's lovely, Bill.
Well, we've had a cracking lunch, but that's over now. We've got the urgency about us. We're going back on the lake. We're going to go out there and see if we can nail some of these jack pike, or maybe even something bigger. You never know. Yeehaw! This is an absolutely fantastic looking place and just beautiful pike habitat. There's cabbages and dark, deep water here. Perfect for pike, but you know, one of the problems here in Ireland is that over the years, pike have been heavily persecuted. And it all adds up to a pretty gloomy story if you're a pike fisherman, really. We should have been raking them in, I feel, along this river, but the sad thing is, we haven't had a bite. You win, Mick?
Yep. I've got it, mate. Got this one.
This is fantastic news. We've just tried a bit of trolling through this bay and the Duke's got a nice fish on. Well done, Mick.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a real mean fighting machine. That's a bit bigger, that one,
Yeah,
Mick.
this is a bit bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice looking
There we
pike.
go. Whoa. It's a bit better, isn't it? I've got to get it in the boat, yeah. Be careful, mate. He's a very lively fish.
Come here, Dublin.
Yes! Hey! Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you.
Good work, my son.
Yeah, well, let's get me pliers on it first of all.
You've got a double there, I think, just about.
Yeah. Well, we had a change of tactics here. We thought we'd do a bit of trolling and cover a bit of water. And I remember this rattling plug, which has got us out of trouble many a time in the past. And 5 minutes into the troll, we've got a good one. And we're not going to mess the fish about. We're going to get it straight back in.
I'm going to give you £10 for that, Mick.
Yeah, we've seen many a double figure pike. We know that's about £10. Just giving it a chance to recover because it's fought really, really hard.
Typical. Whee.
Wow. Well done, Sir Michael. Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. Into another one, Mick. Not in the league of yours, but oh, he's really fighting though. Only a baby. What will you give me for that, Mick? £2?
I'll give you £2 for that. There's your fly.
Thank you.
So, where does that put us now, Matt?
Well, we were on £22. You had a £10. That gave us 32. That now gives us 34.
Let's keep going.
We're on a mission now. You remember, Sir Michael, Boadicea, the beaches at Arnhem, the '66 World Cup. This could be your finest hour.
Stupid boy.
I'm just going to try one bit by these lilies over here. It looks good. Yes, Mick. Ha ha ha!
Wow, you're on a roll, mate.
On a right roll. Yeah, he's really fighting as well, mate. There he is. Woohoo! This is a 10-weight rod, and look at this pike fight. Brilliant. Here he comes.
Oh, that's just what we want, that is.
It's all right, Mick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Smashing.
Yeah, that's lovely. Probably going to give you £4 for that one. There's your fly, mate.
I chose it because I think it looks like a roach.
Well, the pike think it looks like a roach as well. Okay, so that's another £4 in the back.
This bait looks perfect, doesn't it? Absolutely perfect.
Another £20 would be just right, I think. Well, because casting has been quite slow, we've only picked up a couple of fish. We thought we'd cover quite a bit of water by trolling. And you can't ever say on the day which lure is going to work. You go through the box of lures until you find something that works. And I remembered one day we had a lot of trouble catching pike, and I remember this one getting us out of trouble. And this has got a real rattle on it. The fish can't help but notice that as it's coming through the water. Now this is how it works. You're trolling along and it's really vibrating. Look at the rod tip going, and it's flashing all over the place. And I can feel this through the rod. The vibration is coming right through the line, up the rod and into my arm, and it's sending out a signal that's saying, come and eat me.
Well, Mick's spoken about his lure, and it's interesting with this fly that just after we set out after lunch, I decided to put on what I thought was my best fly in the box for today's conditions. It's one I tied myself. It's in a family I call bubbleheads. Basically, they've got an epoxy head which keeps the eyes in position and stops the pike breaking them out when they attack the fly. And it basically represents a roach. Let me just show you why I think it's so good. Because it's one thing to see a fly out of the water, it's another thing to see it in it. Now, when it's in the water, all of that bucktail and flash puffs out, and it gives the fly an amazingly lifelike silhouette and profile. But look at the sinuous nature and lifelike nature of the movement. It really does look like a small fish. And the pike, well, they really attack them. This looks good here, Mick.
This looks like Pike Island here, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's cast this. I'm in, Mick. Oh, well, it's not a big fish, but it's welcome.
It's a 3-pounder, I'd say, mate.
Another one on the spoon.
We need it, mate. Right. It's a fat one. Look at the belly on there.
Yeah. Nice fat little fish. Well, we've just been doing our maths. That's another 3-pound fish. We reckon now we've got 41 pounds in our keep net. It's somewhere between 60 and 70 miles to Dublin. We're not quite sure until we do the journey, but we're getting very, very close, and it does take the pressure off us a little bit for the next couple of days.
They're mounting up, aren't they?
They are.
The,
You hear that screaming
get
reel?
moving, yeah.
Felt like a track, it's gone. Well, I just lost another fish there, but shaking its head a lot, and I actually think it was probably a trout, to be honest. Didn't feel like a pike. There are some really big trout in this lake still. But I'm very pleased with our progress so far. We've done well today, better than I expected, to be honest, and it's been a really, really good result. Whether we catch anything from now on or not, and we're in the last hour, I think we can be very pleased with ourselves. Well, today's been just what we needed after a dodgy couple of days when things weren't going well. We've picked up a lot of poundage today, not catching really big pike, but we've caught what we needed, and I'm really, really pleased with the results personally. I think we're back on track, and maybe our luck's just turning a little corner. Well, today we were going to fish on Loch Rammer, but it's too windy, so we've come here to this more sheltered lake. This is Lake Lacan, near to the town of Ballyjames-Duff in County Cavan. Now, at the moment, we've used up 10 pounds of fish in our keep net, leaving us basically with 31 pounds left. And just for the statistic freaks among you, what we've done so far is caught 228 pounds of fish, and we've travelled 197 miles. So it's been an epic journey. Here we're going to be fishing for roach, for hybrids, possibly for bream. Mick's going to try for some pike, and I've got a little trick up my sleeve later on, just in case things get desperate. Might be able to get up round there, you think?
Well, that's a good start. Look at that, Matt, first cast. Little chap of about 2 pounds. That'll help us on the journey. Really taken that well. Great. Well, that started to build up the mileage straight away. Really pleased with that.
Well, as usual today, Mick and I are going to be fishing as a team. He's decided to go all out for pike. It's an approach that works well for us. And you know, I've been resigned to St Michael's bait catcher. So I'm using a swim feeder. It's a fairly straightforward approach. I've got some Silver X and brown crumb ground bait. It's worked very well for us so far. And some maggots. There's nothing complicated about that. I've got a 30-gram feeder on. And really the only problem I've got today is bite indication. There's a stiff wind blowing down the lake, and it's making it a little bit difficult to tighten up to the quiver tip sometimes, but I've tried to overcome that by using a braided main line. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward, and if I catch enough fish, of course I'll keep some in the keep net.
Right. Well, I've been through the swim with a spinner, which is an easy way of picking up the pike that will just take anything. And I've only got the one fish. So I'm trying something a little bit more sophisticated now, something that might provoke some of the bigger fish to come up in the water. And what I'm using is called a jerk bait. It's a chunk of wood shaped like a fish, and it doesn't actually do anything on its own. You need the rod tip to make it move. And fish that perhaps don't really want to feed at the moment, sometimes it gets them to come up and strike at it. It really is an exciting method. You just bounce it along under the waves and all of a sudden everything locks up. when a pike comes up from the depths and grabs it. That's the theory. It only works if there's pike there, of course. We don't know anything about this lake yet.
Well, plan A was a miserable failure. On his second cast, Sir Michael caught a nice pike, not a big one, but very valuable points for us. And then absolutely nothing. I caught diddly squat on the feeder, and it's got windier and windier and windier with no bites, and we've decided to move to plan B, which is this. Having decided after 2 hours, cunningly, that we'd got the use of a boat, we thought, why not go trolling for pike? It might save the day. So that's exactly what we're doing now. A lot of people think about trolling as a lazy man's way of fishing, and it can be if you just simply sling out a lure behind the boat and tootle along without a care in the world. Trollers tend to select lures to work certain depth contours depending on the conditions. If it's cold, for example, the fish might be deep. If it's warm weather, you might judge that they're in shallower water. It's about selecting the right lures to run at the depth that you need them to, and it's about working with an echo sounder to work the right contours of depth for the lures that you're using. A good boatman will keep the boat on the right course, steer it round obstacles, work structure effectively, and keep that boat working in prime position all the time.
And the sign of a good troller, in my opinion, is a guy who's busy. The guy who's sitting there just holding the rod, looking at the scenery, is rarely a good troller. Good troller's adjusting his tackle all the time, getting the length of line right, making sure his lure is actually running at the right depth. And that takes, oh, yeah, I'm into one now, Matt. Well, as I was saying, I just looked on the echo sounder and we just shallowed up. So I just brought the lure in just to bring it higher in the water, and sure enough, whack, straight into a pike.
Brilliant.
Well, Matt, look at that. These little pike always make me laugh. I don't know why. Come on. Well, he really wanted that. There we are. He's took that well in. God, that was a bit of fun, wasn't it, man?
Yeah, brilliant.
Hang on, it's only just there. Well, Matt was talking about choosing the right lure. Well, we're told there's a lot of perch in here. So as a starting point, we've used a lure that looks like a perch. That's as near to a perch as I can find. And it's worked straight away. So after demonstrating a bit of good trolling, I think, we've added £3 to the bag. What do you say about that, man?
Nice one. Into one here, Mick. It's either that or I've got the bottom, and I felt it move, so I don't think it is the bottom. Seems to have buried itself in something. There's quite a lot of lily pads and stuff just down past where we trolled, and I think the fish may have dug itself in, actually. Definitely a fish there.
I'm expecting something enormous here, Matt.
No, I don't think it's a especially big fish, but definitely a bite.
Yeah, well, this lake hasn't got a reputation for huge fish, has it?
No, it hasn't. If this was all pike, Mick, it would be very promising. But sadly, it's not. We seem to be very badly stuck. Well, Mick, I've got a feeling that whatever was there might have gone now.
You sure you're not playing an old fertiliser?
I probably am.
No, I saw your rod go, actually. I know that was a fish.
But I don't know what's happened now, whether it's just, oh, it's come off.
Oh, we needed that.
Yeah. Ah, never mind, mate.
Oh, well, at least we're getting a bit of action, aren't we?
Yeah.
What was that on? Oh, you've put my little favourite spinner
Yeah, I
on
put
it.
a spinner on. I thought I might pick up a perch,
That was a
you know.
crafty old move, wasn't it? Oh. Missed that one.
Well, at first glance, of course, this may appear vaguely ridiculous, and of course it is, so stop laughing, Mick. But seriously, we've come up with a plan C because the trolling has only produced one pike. And when the going gets tough, the ridiculous get going. And that is why I have donned this belly boat, which is a special flotation device for accessing areas of the lake that we can't get to in the other boat. And I'm prepared to risk life and limb for the sake of this programme and for catching lots of fish, while Sir Michael will be behind in the support vessel. So I'd like you all to wish me luck, bon voyage, and, well, you may never see me again. I think you've got to go in backwards. Obviously, a gentle slope helps. You're trying to push me in, Mick. You're not trying to help.
You're on your own now, mate.
Can you just hold on to my rod just for a minute? Will you stop tittering, Brown? This is a serious part of the programme. Now, as you'll see, Sir M, I am actually quite comfortable in this thing, and all I've got to do now is attach these here.
Armchair hanger.
Another one here. Now, this is actually quite a useful thing, because in here, Sir Michael, I've got a repair kit, just in case I need it. And they've even included these nice handy fly patches on here, Sir M. So in fact, I'm quite well prepared for a nice afternoon's fishing.
Go on then, impress me.
Well, I'm going on, I'm going away from you.
We've tried all around the marginal shelf, we've trolled all the way around, and we've only picked up one fish. It hasn't been very good, really. But there are a lot of fish in this lake, we're told, and my suspicion is they're probably tucked away into the reed beds. Now, we're out in the big boat, casting surface lures into the reed stems and just making a bit of splash on the surface, hoping that any pike, as we're coming into the evening now, might be thinking of feeding and they might come up and take them. Matt's making a really silent approach with his belly boat, and he's just dropping a fly quietly in amongst the reed stems. I think they're both good approaches. Hopefully one will work and we can put more fish in the bag.
In actual fact, it's quite good. I can access parts of the lake that would be difficult to get into in the boat. It's not too bad to cast from. Of course, you haven't got to cast as far as you would normally, because you can get closer to the cover without actually disturbing the fish. So I think it's great.
It looks so fantastic, I just wouldn't have thought I could have failed here. I'm happy with the method and the tackle and the terrain. It all seems too good to be true, but you know, we're passing through, we don't know the waters. We might not be in the best place. There's so many good looking swims on these lakes. All the pike might be in a different area, but we definitely need to get a few more pounds now, because it's not long before we need to be in Dublin, and it's looking touch and go at the moment.
Yeah,
Any good, Matt?
absolutely nothing, Mick. I've worked my way down this reed line and tried to sort of get the fly in all the little gaps. It looks great, but
Yeah.
I haven't had a pull.
Well, I've worked a surface lure in amongst the pads and round the stems, and I think I've worked it quite good actually, but I can't get a pull either.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, all the lakes we're fishing this week, they look very good, but they don't seem to produce, do they?
No.
Maybe we just haven't got enough local knowledge, and maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. I don't know.
Yeah, but it looks perfect for pike, Mick. You know, you'd think they'd be here. I can't believe we're not catching them. Even little jacks, you know.
Yeah, it's very strange.
I'm in. I've got one on. Now, you may titter at that, Sir Michael, and he might only weigh about a pound, but he's my pike and he's done me proud. And he's really swallowed my fly too. Look at that, the smallest pike in Ireland. You never know, that might be the one that gets us on the ferry, boy. And he's gone. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that makes it 37 pounds of fish in the keep net. We've probably got around 60 miles to go to Dublin, so we're still short of our target. Tomorrow we're going to be fishing on Loch Rammer, and let's just hope that the pike are a little bit bigger. Two fishermen on a fishing mission from the west coast of Ireland to the east coast of England. Welcome to the Greater Rod Race.
We've now moved on from Loch Lachan and we've travelled a distance of 9 miles and we're at Loch Rammer. Now there's 28 pounds in the keep net and it's 50 miles to Dublin, so that means we need to catch a minimum of 22 pounds of fish today.
Now, as you can probably see, Loch Rammer is a really big water. It's exposed, not easy to do in a day on your own, so that's why we've enlisted some help. We've got Phil and Paul here. They've brought along some boats and we're going to be fishing with them and drawing on their knowledge to try and get these last few fish that we need to get us to Dublin. Critical day today. You join us here on Loch Sheelan. We're fishing for pike. Well, it's not a big pike, Mick, but it's valuable points on the board. Yes!
Hey!
I'm prepared to risk life and limb for the sake of this programme.
Go on then, impress me. Look at that mad first cast.
You may titter at that, Sir Michael, but he's my pike and he's done me proud. Now, our task today on Loch Rammer, in my opinion, is fairly straightforward. We've got to catch some decent-sized pike. We know that we need 22 pounds of fish to get us to Dublin, but when we get the other side in Wales, we're going to be fishing waters that aren't overstocked with fish. So we've got some difficult times ahead, and now's the time when it's really got to produce. So there's a lot of pressure on us. I think today is absolutely key, Mick.
Yeah, well, we're on a good water though, Matt, and we've got some good advice and we've been put in the right spots, to be fair. So, you know, if we can get to Dublin, anything we can get beyond that, it's going to make life easier because we're going to struggle the other side, aren't we?
We are, yeah. Well, we've made a good start. We've got a 5-pounder in the bag already, which boosts the weight in our keep net up to 33 pounds, leaving us 17 pounds of fish to get to Dublin. And we've got a little bit of time to do it, but I keep repeating this. I honestly think we need to catch more than that, Mick, to just give us a cushion in the first part of the Welsh leg. So we're certainly not out of the woods yet, but we're in there fighting.
Use this one when we get to the shallow water. It's a jerk bait, and as we fish in deeper water, I'll troll this big rubber. That'll get down into the depths.
All right there.
Who, me?
Well, we started well enough with a nice fish early on, 5 valuable pounds in the keep net, but things have slowed down a great deal since then, and we figured that, well, maybe if the big fish aren't feeding at the moment, we could come into a sheltered bay like this one and fish for the jack pike, and that's exactly what we're doing. We figure that maybe a few jack pike are worth one big female. They all count, and at the minute we're scratching, but we'll come good. Gotta be a pike here. Well, we had a good start, a pike almost at the beginning really, and then it's just gone downhill from there. We've tried several trolls over the deep water using different lures. Mick's even tried bait, no success. We've tried some of the shallow bays, again, no success. And now we're just trying to find that one spot that might hold some pike, because quite often at this time of year they are grouped together. It's just that we haven't come across them yet. And with time ticking away, just a few hours of the day left, things are looking a little bit grim. But we haven't given up hope yet. We can maybe try a couple of other bays, and then maybe on the last knockings we'll try the deep water again. That's the game plan. I just hope it works. We're just trying a faster trolling speed now because I think maybe we're going a bit too slow for the time of year. So we speed it up a little bit just to see if it works. A little bit more action in the lures. We'll cover the water that bit quicker. You never know. We'll drift all the way into that area on this wind, I think. So if they're holding in that deep hole, we can drag the baits past them real slow instead of skating them up over the top of them.
We haven't done very well so far, but that doesn't mean to say we won't catch. We really started a bit late in the morning, and now we're coming into the evening. We've got from now 6 o'clock through till about 9 o'clock, a prime time to try and put a few more fish in the net. I must admit it hasn't looked good up to now, but this is a really good time. We're on a good water, the conditions are great. I'm going to remain optimistic and really fish on hard now and try and get those extra few miles under our belts.
Can't work out whether you look like Sir John Gielgud or Albert Steptoe. It's one of the two.
It's now 9:05 and we're taking the last troll. We really have had enough. We really are scraping the bottom now. We're working jigs along the bottom in about 40 feet of water where we've seen fish marking. It might look like it's been a bright sunny day, and it has, but there's been a really biting northwest wind and we are honestly freezing cold and we cannot stand any more. I don't think we've ever been so despondent on this trip. We're so near to getting to Dublin and we just can't get these last fish.
I'm amazed we've got this far. We've had to scratch and scrape, and but today's like the final straw, you know, because we've done everything that we know within the resources we've got, and it just hasn't worked. And we're so close to Dublin, but so far away, you know.
People think we are going to do this, you know. They think it's a foregone conclusion that we'll do this, but it's not, is it?
It isn't.
No.
I mean, you wanted a real challenge.
Yeah.
You've got one, mate.
Yeah.